The train screeched as it burst through the fog. Its metal wheels screamed against the tracks, sparks flying into the black night. Inside, the lights flickered. A young man named Daniel pressed his face against the window, trying to see where they were, but outside was nothing. No towns. No signs. Just endless gray fog swallowing the rails ahead. Then the intercom crackled. Next stop, the voice dragged out, slow and broken. Nowhere. Daniel froze. Everyone else in the train, about a dozen passengers, looked around nervously. An old woman clutched her handbag tighter. A little girl started to cry. Daniel turned to the man across the aisle, who whispered, "There is no stop called nowhere." Before anyone could move, the lights went out completely. The sound of the train changed. It wasn't the rhythmic clack of wheels anymore, but something wet, like dragging chains through mud. The air turned cold, breath visible in the dark. Then the train jerked hard, throwing people against the seats. When the lights flickered back on, the man across from Daniel was gone. Only his jacket remained, laid neatly on the seat. The old woman began to whisper prayers. The little girl's mother pressed the emergency button, but no one answered. Daniel's hands shook as he looked around the car. Every face pale, eyes wide, all listening to the train's new haunting sound. He looked out the window again, and saw something moving beside the train, keeping pace with it. A shape. No legs. Just shadows gliding. The train began to slow, the fog thickening so much that Daniel couldn't see his reflection anymore. Then the voice came again, but it wasn't through the speaker this time, it came from right behind him. "End of the line," it whispered. Daniel turned. And screamed. Just hours before, everything had been normal. Daniel had boarded the 11:45 p.m. train from Chicago to Denver. He was tired, holding a duffel bag full of clothes and a box of donuts for his sister, who was waiting at the other end. He worked long shifts at a diner and finally saved enough to visit her. The train was mostly empty except for a few night travelers, students, a soldier on leave, a couple of old folks, and that same mother with her daughter. It was cold that night, colder than usual for late October. When Daniel boarded, he noticed the conductor didn't make eye contact. The man's skin was pale, his uniform old-fashioned, and when he tore Daniel's ticket, Daniel swore the conductor's fingers were ice cold. "Car 5, the conductor said, pointing him down the corridor. "Last one open tonight." As the train rolled out of the city, Daniel leaned back, watching the lights of Chicago disappear. The sound of the wheels was steady and comforting. After an hour, he dozed off, head resting against the window. When he woke up, everything felt different. The hum of the train was slower, the light dimmer. He looked at his phone. It was dead, even though it had been fully charged. He tried to ask the old woman nearby what time it was, but she didn't answer. She just stared out the window with empty eyes, whispering to herself. Then Daniel realized something that made his stomach drop. The train wasn't stopping. They'd been moving for nearly 3 hours without a single station. No announcements. No other trains passing. Just endless darkness outside. He got up and walked toward the next car, but the sliding door wouldn't open. He pressed the button again. Nothing. He could still see people in the next car through the glass, but they didn't move. They were all frozen, staring straight ahead. Suddenly, the door between the cars opened by itself with a hiss. Cold air rushed in. Daniel stepped forward cautiously, calling out, "Hello? Conductor." No answer. Only the rhythmic metal sound of the wheels. He turned around to head back, but the lights above flickered. And in that brief flash, he saw a figure at the far end of the train, a man in a dark coat, standing still. When the lights came back, he was gone. Daniel's heart pounded. He hurried back to his seat, but as he sat down, he noticed something chilling. The digital clock above the exit door now read 12 a.m., glowing red. It didn't move. It just stayed frozen there. Midnight. The train didn't slow. Didn't turn. Didn't stop. He tried to calm himself, telling his mind it was a glitch. But as he looked out the window again, he saw something even worse. There were no lights anywhere. Not a single town. No street lamps. No stars. Just fog swallowing the entire world. That was when the intercom crackled for the first time and spoke the words. "Next stop. Nowhere." And that was when everything changed. The air grew heavier. The temperature dropped. The train began to sound alive, like it was breathing through the walls. And outside, something began to move beside it. Shadows that weren't reflections, sliding through the fog, keeping pace with the train. Daniel stood, panic setting in. "Stop the train," he shouted. But no one moved. The old woman looked at him finally and whispered, "You can't get off this one, dear." Before Daniel could respond, the train's lights flickered again, then went out. and in the darkness, something began to knock on the window beside him. Slow. Steady. 3 times. When the lights came back on, the seat across from him was empty. The man who'd been sitting there was gone, vanished. Only his jacket remained. Daniel's chest tightened. He reached for the jacket and a folded piece of paper fell out. On it, written in shaky handwriting, were just 3 words. Don't look outside. Daniel froze, his fingers trembling as he unfolded the note fully. And then the voice came from behind him, low and close. End of the line. He turned around and screamed. Daniel's scream echoed through the dark train car, but no one reacted. The old woman stayed still, the little girl held her mother's hand, and the soldier stared blankly ahead. Only Daniel's breath filled the silence, quick and uneven, like a trapped animal gasping for air. When he finally forced himself to look again, there was nothing behind him. The aisle was empty. No one stood there. But the whisper still lingered in the air, like it was crawling inside his ears. End of the line. He stumbled backward, clutching the seat for balance. His heart thudded so hard it hurt. The lights flickered again, slower this time, revealing something new, scratch marks along the walls. Long, thin like fingernails dragged down metal. They stretched from one end of the car to the other, ending right beside Daniel's seat. He took a shaky step back and nearly tripped over the little girl's teddy bear lying in the aisle. Hey, did you drop this?" he asked the mother, trying to sound calm. The woman didn't move. Her face was pale and empty, eyes fixed straight ahead. Daniel waved a hand in front of her. "Ma'am?" "Nothing." He leaned closer, and realized she wasn't breathing. Her skin had gone gray. Her lips were blue. She was cold. Daniel stumbled backward, his foot hitting the seat leg. The old woman beside him whispered, almost to herself, "It happens every time. Every time at midnight?" Daniel froze. "What happens?" he asked. The woman's cloudy eyes met his for the first time. "The train takes another." "Another what?" But before she could answer, the lights went out again, and this time the sound changed completely. No metal. No wheels. Just screams. Not from people in the train, but from outside. Hundreds of them. Echoing through the fog like voices being dragged through steel. Daniel pressed his hands over his ears, but it didn't help. The sound wasn't just loud, it was inside his head. The air felt heavy, thick like water. His lungs burned. The little girl's teddy bear rolled down the aisle as the train shook violently. Then silence. The lights came back on, only half of them flickering. Daniel looked around. Half the passengers were gone. Their seats empty, belongings left behind. The soldier's backpack. The woman's purse. The little girl's doll. All still there. But they were gone. Daniel felt his throat close up. "Where are they?" he shouted. "Where did they go?" The old woman didn't answer. She only whispered, "Nowhere." Daniel ran toward the next car, banging on the door until it finally opened. Cold wind rushed through, stinging his skin. He stepped into the next car, then stopped dead. The entire car was upside down. Seats bolted to the ceiling. Bags floating in midair as if gravity didn't exist. And in the middle of it all, standing perfectly still, was the conductor. His uniform was torn and blackened with soot, his hat tilted to one side. His eyes were empty sockets, glowing faintly red in the dim light. Daniel's voice trembled. "What is this place? What's happening?" The conductor tilted his head slowly like a puppet. "Passengers must remain seated," he said in a hollow, echoing voice. "The train does not stop." Daniel took a step back. "You have to stop it. People are disappearing." The conductor's lips curled into something that looked almost like a smile. "They're not disappearing. They're arriving." "Arriving where?" The conductor turned, pointing toward the window. Daniel followed his hand, and what he saw made his knees weaken. Outside, the fog had thinned just enough to reveal something. Not land. Not towns. But rows of rusted train cars, stretching forever into the darkness. Each one filled with still silhouettes pressed against the windows, faces pale, eyes black, watching silently as Daniel's train passed by. Dozens. Hundreds. Thousands of them. Every face frozen, every train motionless. All stuck in the same endless loop. Daniel's mouth went dry. "Those are people?" The conductor's voice was almost calm now. "They took the midnight train just like you." Daniel's hands began to shake uncontrollably. "What do you mean? This isn't real. It can't be." The conductor's tone darkened. "You shouldn't have looked outside." Suddenly the car shook violently. The lights burst overhead. Daniel grabbed a pole to steady himself as the train began to speed up, faster and faster until everything outside became a blur of gray and red. He shouted, "Stop! Stop the train!" But the conductor was gone. Only his hat remained on the floor, slowly burning at the edges like paper catching fire. Daniel ran back toward his car, but the hallway stretched longer than before, miles of flickering lights and empty doors. Every time he turned a corner, the same corridor appeared again. He was trapped inside the same car over and over. His breath came in sharp gasps. "This isn't real. This isn't real." Then from the intercom the same voice returned, only this time it wasn't distorted. It was clear. "Come, human. Daniel Reed," it said, calling his full name. He froze. How do you know my name?" "Ticket number 1107. Passenger, Daniel Reed. Status, boarding complete." "Boarding for what?" he shouted. The voice paused, then whispered, "Final destination, nowhere." The train screamed as it lurched to one side, lights exploding in showers of sparks. Daniel fell hard onto the floor as smoke poured in through the cracks in the doors. He coughed, eyes burning, trying to crawl toward the window, but outside the fog wasn't gray anymore. It was red. And through it, something was moving fast toward the train, something massive with dozens of glowing eyes and a sound like roaring metal. Daniel grabbed the seat to pull himself up, heart racing as the entire car began to tilt sideways. The voice on the intercom said calmly, "Arrival in 30 seconds. Daniel turned toward the window just as the shadow outside slammed against the side of the train, cracking the glass. A sharp scream filled the air, not human. The glass shattered. The fog poured in. And the train was swallowed whole. The sound was deafening. The entire train screeched as if it were tearing apart. Daniel felt himself thrown into the aisle, his head hitting the edge of a seat. For a moment, everything went black. When he opened his eyes again, silence. The train wasn't moving. The fog outside glowed a deep, blood-red color, thick and alive, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The air inside was heavy and damp, and every breath Daniel took tasted like metal. He pushed himself up, dizzy, ears ringing. Half the seats were gone. Not empty, gone. The floor beneath them was warped, melted into black tar. In the center of the aisle, the old woman's handbag sat open, spilling rosary beads across the floor. Daniel knelt and touched one. It was warm. "Hello?" he called out, his voice hoarse. "Is anyone there?" No answer. He stumbled toward the next car, stepping over the collapsed luggage racks. The door wouldn't open. He hit the emergency release. Sparks. Daniel couldn't breathe. The little girl's words hit him like ice. You weren't supposed to get off," she said again, her voice soft, almost kind, like she was repeating a rule she didn't fully understand. He stepped back, his heart pounding. The air at Nowhere Station was cold, too cold for daylight. The sky was blue, yes, but wrong, flat, still like a painted ceiling. No birds, no wind, no sound. Even his own footsteps didn't echo. Daniel swallowed hard. "What do you mean I wasn't supposed to get off?" The little girl tilted her head, her empty eyes staring right through him. "No one gets off the train." "I had to," he said, his voice shaking. "It wasn't going to stop. It was taking us somewhere terrible." The girl blinked slowly. "That's what it always does." He looked around the station, desperate for an exit. The platform stretched endlessly in both directions, vanishing into mist. The sign above flickered. "Nowhere, population, arriving." Daniel turned back toward